My name's David Little, Swami Manamurti Saraswati, and this evening it's my pleasure to bring you series 2 of the lecture series. This series, unlike the first, is on spiritual transmission. So I'll just remove the screen for a sec. So welcome to week 1, everybody, of series 2, the spiritual transmission series. Series 1 established the scientific foundation of the human system through the vertical stack analogy. So you might have heard a little bit recently, I've published some papers on the vertical stack analogy. There's a series of papers I published, half a dozen after that. So tonight we begin the activation phase. So in the vertical stack analogy, in series 1, we established the scientific foundation, the vertical stack analogy, the cognitive layers, the identity processor, and the architecture of the human system. Now, in series 2, we now move into a completely different domain. This series is not conceptual. It is not philosophical. It is not interpretive. Series 2 is experiential. The purpose of this series is to prepare the human system for transmission state cognition, where the identity processor becomes permeable. The mid-layer gateway becomes active, and the system enters a state of coherence that allows the transmission field to be perceived directly. For many people, this will be the first time that they encounter this phenomena in a structured, lawful, developmental context. Transmission is not mystical, it is not symbolic, it is not metaphoric. It's not a metaphor. It is a coherence-based information state. Throughout this series, I will be describing the architecture of transmission, demonstrating its signatures and providing real examples each week. So for 13 weeks, there'll be a real example each week, including a direct transmission event in this lecture that I experienced in 1997 with Swami Amritananda Saraswati, a lineage level transmitter whose presence demonstrated the pure field state that we will be discussing tonight. The purpose of this priming is simple: allow the system to settle, reduce narrative dominance, soften the identity layer rigidity, open the mid-layer gateway, and prepare the perceptual field. This is not meditation. It is not relaxation. It is preparation. Series 2 begins with the activation phase of the canon. Tonight we establish the foundation for the entire transmission pathway. We now begin week 1, the transmission field. We're going to start with a case study, a transmission case study. Swami Amritananda Saraswati, who I was introduced to in 1997 when I was in India at Rikia in Jharkhand state, visiting my guru for the last time, Swami Satyananda Saraswati. So tonight and in each week's lecture, will provide a precise example of transmission field in operation, an event that demonstrates the architecture of field level contact with absolute clarity. In 1997, whilst I was at Rikia, Jharkhand, India, I was introduced to Swami Amritananda Saraswati. a direct disciple of Swami Satchidananda Saraswati and one of the purest transmission lineage holders of that era. She spoke no words. She simply stood before me, approximately 2 feet away, and smiled. In that moment, the system entered a coherence lock. What I experienced was the unmistakable signature of the transmission field. A concentrated point of contact entered my chest region like a laser-like coherence beam, an immediate identity layer permeability. It penetrated into me, and I experienced a widening field expansion like a radar beam, and a full system entrainment. This was not suggestion. It was not imagination. It was not emotion. It was field level transmission. Field level transmission. The same architecture described in the transmission science paper, which I published recently, about a month ago, and the same phenomena that we are activating in Series 2. This event demonstrates three structural principles. One, transmission is silent. It bypasses language and narrative. It operates through coherence, not communication. Two, transmission requires a receptive architecture. The system must already have identity permeability and mid-layer activation. Without these, the field cannot lock. 3. Transmission is lineage-based. Swami Amritanand carried the unbroken field of the Satchidananda lineage. When she looked at me, the contact was not personal. It was lineage field resonance. This is the same architecture that we are working with in Series 2. Identity layer permeability, mid-layer gateway activation, field level coherence, transmission state cognition. The purpose of this series is to make this architecture available, stable, and reproducible within the human system. Transmission is not mystical. It is structural. It is lawful. It is developmental. And it is the next phase of the QEEU, Quantum Education Evolutionary University curriculum. So now I'm going to go through the complete script for this lecture on the transmission field. Series 2 is not theoretical, it is experiential. It is the phase in which the human system becomes receptive to higher order information through coherence, alignment, and field level awareness. Tonight's lecture is titled The Transmission Field. Section 1, the purpose of Series 2. Series 2 exists to activate the experiential dimension of the canon. Where Series 1 explained the architecture, Series 2 brings that architecture online. The purpose of this series is to stabilize the lower layers, reduce identity processor dominance, activate the mid-layer gateway, increase system coherence, and prepare the field level processor for illumination states. This is the beginning of the transmission pathway. Section 2. What the transmission field is. The transmission field is the state in which the human system becomes permeable to higher order information. It is not imagination. It is not suggestion. It is not belief. It is a coherence state. The transmission field arises when three conditions are met. The lower layers are stabilized, the identity processor is not dominating the perceptual field. 3. The field level processor is partially online. When these conditions converge, the system enters a state of heightened receptivity. Information is not sent or received, it is revealed through coherence. Section 3. The architecture of transmission. Transmission is lawful, it is structural, it is reproducible. It occurs through the interaction of the biological substrate, the subtle energetic architecture, the cognitive layers, the identity processor, and the field level processor. The transmission field is the interface between the substrate and the field. When the system is coherent, the field becomes accessible. When the system is fragmented, the field remains obscured. Transmission is therefore a function of coherence, not belief. Section 4. The role of the identity processor. The identity processor is the most rigid structure in the human system. It maintains the narrative, continuity, and self-reference. During transmission, the identity processor must become permeable, not dissolved, not removed, permeable. A rigid identity blocks transmission. A permeable identity allows the field to be perceived without distortion. This permeability is one of the core developmental outcomes of Series 2. Section 5, the mid-layer gateway. The mid-layer is the translation layer of the human system. It performs three functions: translation, stabilization, and integration. During transmission, the mid-layer becomes the most active processor. It converts field-derived information into cognitive form. Without the mid-layer, transmission collapses into confusion. With it, transmission becomes structured revelation. So I'll repeat that. Without the mid-layer, transmission collapses into confusion. With it, transmission becomes structured revelation. This is why Series 2 focuses heavily on coherence and stabilization. Section 6, the biological signature of transmission. Transmission has a biological signature. It includes increased gamma synchrony, cross-layer coherence, reduced narrative dominance, heightened perceptual clarity, and subtle body activation. These are not mystical states. They are measurable neuroenergetic conditions. Transmission is the biological system operating at higher coherence. Section 7. What you will experience in Series 2. Throughout this series, you may experience increased clarity, reduced internal noise, heightened awareness, subtle energetic activation, shifts in identity structure, moments of direct knowing. These are normal. These are signs of coherence. Series 2 is designed to support these shifts safely and structurally. Section 8, preparing for the transmission phase. To prepare for the coming weeks, reduce cognitive overload, stabilize your daily rhythm, maintain physiological coherence, avoid unnecessary emotional turbulence, allow the system to settle. Transmission requires stability. Stability creates permeability. Permeability allows revelation. This is the developmental sequence. Closing statement. Tonight, we have established the foundation for the transmission series. In week 2, we move into the Kriya Yuga philosophy, the cosmological context for the human system's accelerated evolution. Series 2 is the activation phase of the QEEU curriculum. It is the bridge between cognition and illumination. Thank you for joining me for week 1. The live stream recording will be uploaded shortly. Closing line. This lecture or talk establishes the foundation. Before we explore history, timing, or structure, we begin with the simplest question. What does transmission actually mean in human terms? So thank you everybody for joining me for week 1 of series 2, Spiritual Transmission series. And next week I'll be back on Friday night, and this is week 1 of 13 weeks for this series. Hurry on.